Welcome to Youth Voices of Greater Cincinnati. My name is Kylie Mathena, and with me is
Stephen Worley.
Today we have a very special guest on our talk show, Mr. Matt Mathena. Welcome to our talk show today.
Thanks for having me, Kylie and Stephen.
You're welcome. First off, will you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay. So I've been working for Duke Energy for the last 13 years in a myriad of different positions. But currently my job title is Associate Revenue Analyst in the AR group, which is accounts receivable.
Okay. So to start off talking about your job, who inspired you?
Well, when I look back and see how I was inspired when I went to apply for my work at Duke Energy, actually the most driving force I had when I applied there happens to be you, Kylie. I had to kind of grow up really fast, and I needed a career kind of out of nowhere. So if I had to choose one person that really inspired me to take on a career instead of the odd jobs I was holding at the time, it'd be you.
What were some of the steps you had to take to get to where you're currently?
Currently, some of the steps I had to take while I was working, some of the lower level positions I held at Duke, I did have to go to night school to get my degree while I was there. So a lot of 10 and 12-hour days for a number of years went into that while I climbed the ladder internally. So I kind of had to show my managers what I could do. I had to prove myself while I was there and then get my degree to follow up on it so I could then move on to the position I hold now.
When you were a child, was this the career that you thought you were going to take on?
No, not at all. When I was your age, I really kind of wanted to be either a police officer or a firefighter for the longest time. I actually went to school for criminal justice for a year or so before I switched my majors. And then I went into architecture, and that didn't suit me either. So soon after that, you came along, and I had to make a choice. And Duke Energy was really one of the best companies around in the city. It was Synergy at the time, but it was really one of the best companies around the city. So I went with them to provide for myself and for my family. Now that I told you kind of what I wanted to do when I was a kid, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you two are thinking about doing now for your career when you're my age? What do you want to be doing when you're my age?
When I'm your age, I would like to be a doctor and obviously have my majors and
You need a doctorate.
Yeah.
When I get older and want to get a job, I'm going to go to college for neurosurgery and neuroscience, and I'm going to be a brain surgeon.
Oh.
Because I actually had a surgery on my head back in February, so it's kind of something that I kind of want to take up. Why did you want to take on this career?
Well, the current position I hold is really challenging in comparison to the job I had before this, which was an office coordinator, more on the gas side of Duke. So I really wanted more of a challenge with my work. So when I went into this interview, I kind of took everything I know about the receivable side of what I've done at Duke Energy and pushed it up to the next level. So instead of me coming in and doing the same thing day in and day out, now I kind of make my own schedule, and I get to investigate things with how the company works, try to make it work a little better, which is kind of what I like to do.
What is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job right now is the freedom I have. It lets me come and do things like this. It lets me leave when I need to do other things. I also have the ability to work from home. I kind of get to choose some of the projects I work on or find some of the issues on my own, and without limited managerial oversight. So I don't have a lot of people telling me what to do. They just kind of let me do what I do, which is really nice. This is kind of what I look for.
As you said that you've kind of gone over quite a couple different parts of being in your job.
Mhm.
Would you say that you're high up when it comes to how many different types of jobs there are at Duke?
Oh, as far as where I stand, maybe kind of the middle.
Okay.
But that's a long way. I started all the way at the bottom. So when I came into Duke, I was just reading meters, which, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a mailman, but I only come to your house once a month. And, I'd read your electric and gas meter, find out what your bill needs to be, take that back to the office so you get an accurate bill.
Why is your job so important to society?
The reason I think that any job at Duke Energy is important to society is just imagine what society would be without somebody supplying you gas and electric. I mean, if nobody was supplying us gas and electric, we'd just be sitting here in a room in the dark. No TV cameras. I'm sure it'd be cold because it's like 30-something degrees outside right now. So the things we do kind of affect everything in a society all behind the scenes. Duke makes the traffic lights run, heats your oven up, water, house, turns your TV on, charges your phone. Just all behind the scenes.
What is one of the more challenging parts of your job?
My job does tend to get pretty challenging when I get put into a situation where I'm trying to help one of our customers out who might be having a hard time, maybe making ends meet or making sure they can get their gas and electric bill paid in full, and putting it up against, say, a commission regulation that might be stopping them from getting the help that they might need, or something else that they might have done that's stopping them from getting the help. So sometimes I have to find pretty clever ways in order to help a customer out so they don't lose heat or electricity, especially in these colder or hotter months in the summer. Sometimes that can get pretty difficult trying to find a way around all that.
You said earlier that you like challenges in your jobs.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of challenges do you work with?
Right now, one of the biggest challenges, one of the things I work with it's called the Percentage of Income Program. So it works with a lot of our lower income people in the Ohio service territory. And what it does is it allows people to get gas and electric when they normally might not be able to afford it for a percentage of what they might bring in. So they don't have to pay necessarily for all the gas and electric they use, which they might not be able to afford. They only have to pay a percentage of what they actually make. And right now, we're getting ready to go through a big rule change, and we're kind of going over a lot of the things that make this program work. And we have to come down and see what the Ohio Commission says they want to change about it, how that's going to affect Duke as a business, how that's going to affect our customers as far as keeping their service on. So trying to put those three things together and make it all work is going to be one of the biggest challenges I've ever had to face at Duke Energy.
What is one of the, I'd say, most enjoyable things about coming to your job every day, like going to work every day?
No, definitely the people. The people I work with are great. A lot of the customers I interact with are really, really great people, and they tend to appreciate what I do. So it makes me feel really good when I can walk in someplace and get the recognition for the good work I do, get praise from our customers for helping them out. It is actually really rewarding for kind of being behind the scenes, because a lot of people haven't heard about anything I do, like what my job is. Nobody knows that there are analysts all behind the scenes at Duke that just sit there and pore over data to try to make our systems work better.
You said earlier in the show that you were a meter reader.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any health issues because of that?
Oh, I did. A couple times. One time that was kind of the hardest for me is I tore my Achilles tendon. And after the doctor saw it and said there wasn't much he could do as far as surgery, he just said it'll heal on its own because it wasn't a full tear. And I only had so much time I could take off due to it. So I was right back to work, walking 5-6 miles a day on a torn tendon. And I'm telling you, my ankle at the end of the day would be swollen up to the size of a golf ball, and I just kept pushing through. So that was one injury I sustained. But there was a lot of times reading meters where you find yourself in pretty kind of dangerous situations where I'm walking down somebody's steps and the steps just give way on you. Whoa. And you're on the ground. Wow. I've gone into houses with gas leaks, carbon monoxide leaks. I actually going into there, you know, I've saved families before because they didn't know they had a carbon monoxide leak till I went in there and found it. If that thing had gotten any worse, you're looking at that family might have asphyxiated in their sleep. Or if that gas leak had gone on without me catching it, their house could have exploded. So things like that, meter reading put me in a lot of bad situations. I mean, you were in everybody's house, in the best parts of town, the worst parts of town, you know, clean houses, dirty houses, houses with mean dogs, houses with nice dogs. You get to see a little bit of everything. And, you know, kind of at that point in time, you might get hurt every now and again being out in the field like that every day.
What would be one of the most craziest ones you can recite?
Well, I had a couple of really strange situations, but let me see, something I can tell you all here. I was in somebody's backyard, went in their house numerous times, and they had a big pit bull. Oh, no, sorry, it was a Rottweiler. They had a big Rottweiler in the backyard chained up to a stump. And I remember when this guy, when that guy broke his chain, and I was in the backyard, and he came running for me one time. And I remember the guy whose house it was tried to get in between me and the dog so I wouldn't get bitten by him. And one thing that happened was, like, he was trying to take the dog on to get him away from me, while I was trying to take the dog on to get him away from him so nobody got hurt. And it was a very close call that he didn't get himself bit up because that dog was really on a rampage. He really wanted me because he would see me every month. And that's kind of how a dog is. They see you every month. If they don't like you, don't think you're supposed to be there, they're going to fixate on you. And eventually, if they get free, it's what they're going to come for you. So I just kind of remember him and I working together to get back in the house. I had my flashlight like in the dog's mouth so he couldn't bite anybody. And the owner was trying to push the dog back, and I'm trying to pull him in his own house because I didn't want him to get bit either. And I remember after a little tussle with the dog, lasted about a minute and a half before we both got in the house and got away from this, it's, like I said, big Rottweiler. So it's not a small dog, 150 pounds.
Going back to your jobs that you have now and jobs that you had before, did you, like, what kind of hurdles did you have to overcome to get to where you are now?
Everything I took on was a huge learning curve because a lot of the things when you deal with a company the size of Duke Energy is you end up with what we call silos. So each department is in its own separate thing, and not until you get to the top of that silo do you start seeing the interaction with other departments. When you're in your silo, you do your thing, and you don't know too much about what happens on the other side. So as I jumped from department to department, I had to learn new systems, new operating procedures as I went, because I'm jumping into a totally new world. So when I went from electric to gas, completely different set of rules that you have to follow, completely different set of problems you have to overcome.
How did you overcome those problems?
I learned. I studied at home. I put in the work, did overtime. Oh, so much overtime, so much studying. I mean, that's all you can do is just immerse yourself in it until you learn it.
Thank you for watching our show. And thank you, Dad, for coming here and talking to us about your job.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.